Hey guys, welcome back. Here, a hardworking MGTOW explains how a feminist supervisor and a woman whose life he saved tried to destroy him.
So, here we go. Fuck once upon a time. This ain't no fairy tale. I grew up in a hillbilly small town in Appalachia. Dad was from the wrong side of the tracks, and Mom was about the same. I was not treated well by the community. Dad was a Vietnam vet, which of course meant he was absent from my childhood, due to the demons he was dealing with. Mom filled my head with all sorts of things, that I later learned were thought bombs women program us all with, setting us up for some other woman to come along, and yank our chain. Thanks Mom. So I was your typical hungry, socially awkward, hard-working lower-class white male, struggling to pull himself up by the bootstraps. Being who I was, a nice southern gentleman, abnormally smart, pathologically nice, hard-working, with ethics, meant of course I was never going to get any female attention growing up. Worked my ass off, thinking when I got to college things would change. Nope. The high school popularity machine just gets worse since there's even less adult input. Didn't matter anyway. I was broke and had to pay for my entire school myself. Even went a little malnourished at one point, and my hair fell out for a while. I earned an EMT certification and a real estate license. I was so hungry to succeed while attending college for biology pre-med, with let's just say a lot more thrown in. There were years where I worked at night, school in the daytime, with 4 hours of sleep except when I could catch up on my single day off. No time for socialization. I was going to make something of myself. Idiot. So my brilliant, hard-working, lonely ass got accepted to med school. Had prepared so well as an undergrad, I sailed through the bookwork. I actually had more time on my hands than when I was an undergrad. Still no female interest. I can't believe the stories I am skipping over here to save space. Got to my 3rd year of med school where we start rotating in hospitals. At the same time I finally got my first girlfriend, had my first kiss, and lost my virginity all in rapid succession. I was about 25. She was a fairly intelligent woman studying architecture. I did every typical nice guy, white knight, captain save a whole routine known to man, because I just didn't know any better. She worked as a brand representative for electronics companies. She drove a new car, had new clothes, a pair of implants, and a 10K diamond ring. While my brain was going, hey, something ain't right here, and what does she expect from me with all this? I plunged ahead just being ecstatic to no longer be single. Never did figure out how she was paying for all that stuff. Doesn't matter. I was soon to experience the apocalypse. My first few clinical months were under a great male family doc. I was wildly successful and grew in confidence. I wasn't single. Things were great. Then I went to my first hospital rotation. My attending was a femi-Nazi cunt. But being the dutiful med student I followed my orders to the letter. She felt medicine had failed women, focusing too much on the men. So she ordered every doc under her to perform full head-to-toe textbook physical exams on women. No skipping parts. So I was sent to see this woman who had been admitted with severe abdominal pain. Did exactly as I was instructed. The ER doc, internal medicine doc, an OB-GYN, and at least 3 interns residents all said she had pelvic inflammatory disease, which is when untreated STDs spread into a woman's abdomen. Me, the dumbass med student, found all the classic signs for acute appendicitis. I was so excited that I had just found something everyone else missed. I wasn't thinking of protecting myself and performed the breast exam and genital exam, external not internal, and forgot to call in a witness. The next day, I reported my findings to my team. She had an emergency CT scan and immediate surgery that saved her life. I was right. It was the first and last time I was ever proud about being a doctor. The head doc of the hospital comes walking down the hall with one of our female interns in tow. I'll never forget the shit-eating grin on her face. I was summoned to the admin department to find the head nurse of the hospital there as well, with a tape recorder. Of course, I'm young, naive, but had this horrible feeling I was about to get hurt. Turns out she filed a complaint stating I made her uncomfortable. They asked me to give my version of things. They declined to answer any of my questions, and walked me out of the hospital. The wheels are spinning in my head and I came to the conclusion I was being hung out to dry. They didn't care how it made me look, being walked out of the hospital. The next day, after zero sleep, I went and found my dean. And the Twin Towers fell and my girlfriend was on a plane. Found out later, she was fine, but add that little gem to my day. Told him the entire story, and man to man he looked me in the eyes and asked if I was guilty of anything. I said no, sir. I owe my career to that man. He gave me the benefit of the doubt. Let me continue with school while everything was going to shit. And when I say shit, I mean, imagine completing med school with all the rumors and gossip flying. Every day was like walking down the Klingon pain ritual. The stares, the lies, the games, the persecution. Especially from women. And still having to complete the training to become a doctor. Only thing I was guilty of was doing an excellent job in saving her life. The lawsuit dragged on for 2 years. She claimed sexual assault. My phones were tapped. Private investigators followed me around. I developed PTSD. I never slept. When I did, I had nightmares. Woke up drenched in sweat. Had constant thoughts about going to prison, being raped in prison, being made a sex offender, losing my entire career, you name it, it was a shit show in my head. I was set on every shit detail known to man in the hospitals. If there was something or someone no one wanted to deal with, I went. I became incredibly experienced. One of the Christmases I endured rolled around. The girlfriend I mentioned above struggled from the emotional pain I was suffering. She put forth a token effort, but looking back, I know I was treated like radioactive waste. She was waiting to see if I was viable long term. The support felt faked. We exchanged gifts. I got her a silver business card case and some jewelry with what little money I had. Put a lot of time into it. She got me a teddy bear. After we had exchanged gifts, we ended up in a fight. All I remember is the statement, "I don't think you ever loved me." She said that deadpan, no emotion. It wasn't spontaneous. It was planned. I told her if she could say that after everything I had done, I didn't need to be here. I walked out. I skipped over a lot, but I got her out of some horrible situations. She didn't care. A month after I walked, I called her up to talk. Didn't want to get back together. I just wanted to take a harder look at myself. She said she'd have to ask her boyfriend for permission. I said thanks, you just answered my questions. Awfully fast turnover if she wasn't cheating. She became a lawyer. Dodged that bullet at least. Anyway, the time came for depositions for the lawsuit. She went first. I had been studying law every night before I went to bed. Wish I'd been enrolled somewhere while I did it. Could have picked up an extra degree. For 2 years every night after my medical work was done, I hit the law books. Except for my dean, everyone else was screwing me. The school lawyer and malpractice attorney wouldn't talk to me. I had a long talk with my dad, and he hired a private attorney at my request. Was the first time I ever felt he was taking care of me. We've grown closer over the years because of this. At least there's that. So I took the radical approach and ignored the lawyers. I asked if I could be present at her deposition. They said it was completely legal but unheard of. I flew across country to attend. By God, if this bitch was going to lie about me and ruin my life, she was going to do it to my face. In her deposition, she was revealed to have done time in jail for meth, that of course she claimed wasn't hers but her boyfriend's. She was found to have filed prior lawsuits against her employers looking for money. And the coup de grace was, when she said she had been fantasizing that I must have wanted a relationship with her. With a shit-eating grin while she was saying it. The next day, her lawyer offered to settle for what was basically his costs. The amount was so low I was told it communicated clearly to everyone it was a nuisance case. I agreed to settle. I knew what happened from my legal studies when you went before a jury. Case like this was a crapshoot for me. Her lawyer knew she was a horrible witness. I wasn't about to play craps with my future anymore. I was terrified the case was going to cause me problems later. It never really did. Oh, I have tons more stories about how it affected things. How a doc I knew in residency, who looked like Adonis, was sleeping with patients and using illegal drugs. And because all the women loved him when I turned him in, they turned on me. He went scot-free and I suffered for 4 years. But, years later he lost his license for the same thing I tried to stop. And the lawyer who represented the bitch in my lawsuit lost his license for filing bogus lawsuits. Imagine that. All this was about 17 years ago. And I went on to go full hermit monk, until I suffered the death of the soulmate delusion. But that's probably enough for now. I have so many more stories, but it's the death of the soulmate delusion that is the most painful. It didn't just destroy what was left of my heart, it took out most of my faith in God as well. That was 10 years ago. Men, if any of you are new or just looking around from curiosity, take all this very seriously. It can save you years of pain and suffering. NAWALT. There is not one episode where you can ever be safe if you are in a relationship with a woman. I know from personal experience. If you are becoming a doctor, don't. I can give you hours of lectures on why becoming a doctor in today's world is financial and emotional suicide. Don't ever trust a nurse. Since the 80s, nursing school has been actively training nurses to be feminists and undermine doctors. Things the corporate world are just now dealing with, we faced decades ago. It's gotten even worse. You wouldn't believe what's coming. Look at the news. It's coming for you. Don't be alone with a woman at work. Don't trust a woman. Not a single one will ever truly care for you. If you ever think to yourself NAWALT, slap yourself. It will be less pain than what you are setting yourself up for. You haven't found a unicorn. So keep the faith, men. MGTOW. NAWALT. It's not me too. Be indestructible. Be a dick.
That is it, guys. MGTOW and NAWALT. Never be a nice guy. Be a dick. Save yourselves. Be careful. Be safe out there. What better way to save a brother than sharing your story? Send your stories to redpill.story@gmail.com. Contribute at Patreon.com/RedPill Story. Contribute directly through PayPal at redpill.story@gmail.com. If you like to hear more of these experiences, comment, rate and subscribe. Don't forget to bang the bell. You can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/StoryRedPill. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/StoryRedPill. To avoid attacks from social justice warriors, follow me on gab.ai at gab.ai/StoryRedPill. Cheers. See you tomorrow.